welcome to the Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glow.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners. Welcome back to another episode of Morning Throners podcast. We got Ned 11. Big dog,
Whoop, whoop.
or I should say Big Wolf, is on the throne, ruling shit. That's pretty much all we got this whole chapter. A ruler.
Yeah, short chapter, not much
They don't really
not
go
much
anywhere.
excitement, I guess, happens. Yeah, it's like
No,
basically all in one
it's
room.
a lot of excitement, I would say, but it's a lot of build-up. How's that?
All right, Kyle, where's our setting? Give us the setting, Kyle.
I mean, so they're in this huge, room of red, essentially. Everything's blood red, it sounds like, in this giant, massive hall. And everybody is either bowing or standing before the king's hand. Ned's up in the chair, super pissed because he's sitting in this uncomfortable-ass chair that can kick his ass at any moment.
What's the chair made out of, Kyle?
Swords. Swords of the people that have laid down their steel. Thousands?
Hold on. Kyle said the throne room's all red. Is that true?
Yeah,
It's
man.
like a
He said
hint,
it was
it's got a glint of
it
red
said it looked
to
like blood. I'm thinking it's more of like dark red curtains maybe that are like giving it that hue.
I think it's made out of rich mahogany.
No, so it's the Red Keep, right? In that red stone.
Yeah, so it's like red stone. Okay.
Now the
I guess you're
stone
right.
was covered with hunting tapestries, vivid with green and browns and blues, and yet it still seemed to Ned Stark that the only color in the hall was the red of blood. But I guess it's because
Okay.
it was more of the sunset. So it says the light of the sunset spilled across the floor. So
Wow.
yeah,
Good call,
The
Jeff.
floor is probably red anyway. Like Kyle said, it's red. The whole tower's made out of red bricks, right? Like red
It's the
stone
Red
bricks.
Keep.
That's why it's called the Red Keep.
yeah. So the red floor, red ceiling, red walls,
But I guess
and then
it's
the
even
red
bigger than
red
that,
sunlight coming in.
The only thing I think is like if the floor is actually made of like marble or something, right? Like I could see that, right?
But so
or if
the-
they have a bunch of rushes down.
Yeah, it's just shitty hay
Bunch of rushes.
in this.
Throne room.
So I think it's also alluding to the fact that the death that has been caused from this room as well, like the decisions made in this room, and then also there's this townspeople that just got fucking ruined. Is what the room is filled with, is more blood. So I think this room is that's kind of what it's more alluding to.
Gotcha.
Okay, Cal. I see where you're coming at, Cal.
Ned does say something a little bit in about how the throne has killed people that sat on it too. So
Supposedly,
like the
it
throne
says, or
as a
something like that.
killer itself.
Supposedly, I think he says stories say.
Yeah, it's like
He
if
doesn't
the
confirm
stories
it,
are
but
to
yeah.
be true, it killed somebody sitting on it or something.
So
I think it could be a
I'm
metaphor
showing-
too for like the power. Like you get power hungry, it might kill you too. So in a metaphoric state
Just
as well.
being the king kills people. Yeah.
So
So
basically,
hold on, before we move on, I want to. I'll put this in the YouTube video, so anybody watching on Spotify or listening on Spotify or something, you can just Google Iron Throne books, and you'll get these same images that I'm showing right now. But this is what the Iron Throne actually looks like, not not what you see in the show. Like, there's actually stairs built into it. You have to climb, and you sit like well above, like 2 persons heights above everybody, and it does look like the throne room's red in this.
I hate to say it, but I think the show one looks better. This one's kind of a little too much.
wasn't-
I mean, the
supposed to be
show
pretty.
one's just so much cleaner. Yeah, I mean, it's not like all over the place. This one makes it seem like because it's the swords of the fallen that it's just like, oh my god, like we've came here and fucked shit up, type of deal.
yeah, I mean, just think of it. It was also forged out of dragonfire, so it's not gonna
Whether
look pretty.
Aegon actually thought this or not is, I guess, up to debate. But they say that Aegon, like when he made it, the point was that a ruler should never be able to like rest easy, right? You should
Yeah, he says
always-
that in the chapter.
You should
They
always,
should
be paying
always sit
attention.
uncomfortably.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're like because if you're sitting uncomfortably, like you're paying attention, right? You're not like falling asleep listening to people and that kind of shit, right? So
Does
the
Robert
throne-
follow that advice?
The throne from the book doesn't seem like that, right? And there's in the show doesn't seem like that.
In
and
the
there's
show,
a
they
part,
make comments that it's not very comfortable.
the one
Yeah.
part in but the one part in the show that I really don't like is Littlefinger has a monologue just about like how he's schemy. He's like, I'm being schemy. He's like, it's all lies in the end, and he makes the point that even the throne is a lie because there's only 200 swords in it.
He's counted,
not thousands, right? He's actually counted the swords in the throne. But like there are 1,000 swords in the throne, so like that I like that monologue by him in the show, and it's not in the
It
book.
just doesn't apply because
it just
it's not
doesn't apply.
accurate.
Because this one
because it's
has
not
more
accurate.
than thousands, it looks
It
like.
has what Aegon says it is. Like it has what everyone says it is. The 1,000 thrones of Aegon's enemies. That's what it is. Like when he conquered, after every battle, he would make everyone that he defeated throw down their swords, and he collected them all and brought them back to King's Landing. He had all the blacksmiths and his dragon fire melt the swords down, and the blacksmiths with the dragons built this throne. Right, that's badass. It's literally like a symbol of
So
I defeated
go back to
fucking
the
everyone.
other one. So this one I like better than the other one. I'm
This
sorry
one?
that doesn't work too well with the audio-based podcast, but
This is the one with the more clearly defined stairs.
yeah, this one here looks dumb to me.
That one looks
So
like a
dumb.
wave.
Yeah,
it's,
so
it's
the
like
other one
swallowing
I think
him up.
gets the point across that he's trying to get across. That one,
Yeah,
I think that one
this
is.
and this is the one that George. This is the one that George has approved and has said like this is the closest any artist has come to what I actually imagined. It
Okay.
looking like is this one, and he like
That one's like ominous looking too.
Yeah.
It looks so fucking.
It's so
creepy as
opposing.
hell.
Like imagine going up to that person like by yourself, even if it is like if it's a younger king, like a boy king, like even if it's like Robin Aaron, right? That's fucking opposing.
Make him fly.
Imagine if you're in trouble too, and you're like called before it. Not like you're there to plead. Like
Exactly.
you're like about to get, your head chopped off or something.
Yeah, and it's also cool how, like with this in mind, other stuff just seems way different when you're imagining this and not the throne from the show. Like even the part where all these villagers are kneeling, right, and Ned's like, I can never trust a man. What he says on my knees.
Yeah.
In the show, they would like be standing above his height.
I got you.
Right, because like they're standing now and he's still sitting, but like here, no, he's still fucking above all of them by far.
Yeah, but there are steps in the show too. They weren't like
Yeah.
eye level with him.
No, I agree with Jeff on that one.
The
yeah, but they-
legless chair in the show, and you
Like
sit on
that.
the king sits on the
It
floor.
wasn't like this. It was more like these steps.
It
at
was
the
still
bottom of
steps
the show.
up. I mean, he was above
I
all.
know
That
what
was
you're saying.
bad call by you.
You-
But in the show,
you know what
there's
I'm
like
saying.
there's like stadium stands on each side that people. Maybe that was only for like major times, but like everybody wasn't kneeling or standing. Like there was seats and shit.
I don't know if there was stadium stands. There was like there was a raised balcony, like a hallway that was open to the.
We'll
throne
talk
room
about
on
it later. All right, so let's paint a picture of kind of what's going on in all of Westeros. We've got the Lannisters allegedly riding around, brigading. I think is the word they used.
Brigands.
Kind of. Yeah. So the verb of it would be brigading.
To brigade.
Is
To
it?
brigade. I don't know. But they're burning shit down. They're killing people in little holdfast in I'm going to say the Riverlands territory. The people of the survivors have came around and want to plead their case for justice to the king, but he is off hunting. They must have found a cool white
or
stag
something
running
like
around that they want to get. And so that's kind of why Ned's on the throne and not Rob. And these people are coming to accuse the Lannisters of killing innocent people.
Along with that, the only people from the council that are there are Varys and Littlefinger
Pycelle
because everyone else. Oh, and
Pycelle's there,
Pycelle.
too.
Because everyone
Yeah.
else went on the hunting party with King Robert.
And we'll talk about it later, but Pycelle even says like towards the end that like he doesn't think that some of this stuff like Ned should have authority on. Like they should almost wait till
Yeah, this is big shit.
Robert comes back.
Pretty much saying, yeah, this is bigger than what your position is meant to be handling. while the
I don't
king is
know.
gone.
I don't know if it's two other families, if it's a big deal, but because it's literally the Queen's
because
family.
Ned just had a beef. Well, because Ned just had a beef with
Yeah.
the Queen's family, and now Ned's the one ruling on this. Like Ned is saying, let's be impartial, let's make impartial decisions by sending Beric and Thoros. And I'm jumping ahead a lot here, but like that's his point in sending Beric and Thoros and those guys is, you know what I mean? Like let's be impartial here.
Let's be impartial and kill the guy, and then
They're from the Reach and from the Stormlands, but I'm not going to send the Riverlands at this.
Any outsider looking in isn't taking Ned's move as an impartial decision. It's like, yeah.
Well, no, that's my point.
wife-
Is Ned is his whole thing here is he's preaching we need to handle this in the most impartial manner by sending like knights to do the bidding who are impartial, but he himself is partial. Like Robert is almost a more impartial person because it doesn't involve his family. Sure, it involves his wife and his hand, so maybe even he's not the most impartial person, but he's more so than Ned, who's directly involved, right?
Sure.
yes.
But in any other hand, it could be two separate. This could be Dorne and the Reach, and Ned could be impartial and could make. Like, he could make the king's decision there. It's just because the Lannisters are involved that makes him partial, and now maybe he shouldn't make the decision. But now, like, Robert's not going to decide against the Lannisters. Like, that's not an impartial decision either.
That's what I'm saying, because it's his wife and his
So
hand, his
how
best
can
friend.
you, unless he's, like, just a really stand-up dude and, like, truly believes in just true justice or the Lannisters again, they're, I guess, not with Ned, but with Robert. I guess someone's getting favored either way.
Well, I think the thing is Ned doesn't know which way Robert will fall, right? He could go either way at this point, and Ned's not sure, so because he's not sure, he's going to make sure, at least at this point, that it goes his way. Right? And it's not without honor. It's within his own right, right? Like, he says when Pycelle, and again, this is at the end, but when Pycelle suggests this, he says, Robert told me to do this, right? Like,
Yeah.
Sure, maybe I'm, like, this is more than what would normally happen when a hand is, like, in control. Normally, like, the king doesn't go away, and all of a sudden you start, like, passing all kinds of laws and starting wars. But Ned's like, hey, he did tell me to rule, and when something happens, you got to take action.
I guess that's what I was getting at, is like, I think that was more the point, not the impartialness or whatnot, but I think just the gravity of the situation that's about to happen is why they wanted Ned to wait. It's like, this is some serious
Accusations
power
being
moves
thrown
and stuff
around.
happening within the kingdom. The king should be the one to make the decision, because this is potentially all-out war.
Yeah.
So I think that, personally, that was what I got out of that. I was going to say, before we go too much further, so a white hart is what it was, and I thought that's what it was, like a white deer or something, but so it's an old stag is essentially what a hart is the idea behind it.
Yeah, I knew a hart was like a type of deer type thing. So.
Yeah.
Well, I googled white hart, and it says it's like a mystical animal, basically. It's like a mystical deer. It's like people, at least like it's spoken about like it's mystical.
It's big and old, yeah. It's like a famous trophy deer. And then brigandage is what the word you're looking for, Jeff.
Brigandage.
Yeah, which is the life and
What did
practice
I
of
say,
highway
brigading?
robbery. Yeah, highway robbery and
Brigading.
plunder. It is practiced by a brigand who is just a gang member, essentially, that robs people. So the raiders are brigands as well.
I was thinking of brigade as the subdivision of an army.
Yes.
Yeah, no, this is brigand, and it's
a
what did it
thief.
say?
It's like a thief.
Yeah, it's a bandit.
Yeah, he
is
said
another word for
highway.
it.
Yeah, highway robber
Highwayman.
type thing.
It's a
Yeah.
Game of Thrones word, guys, so don't bother looking at it.
No, it's not.
It'll
Don't
confuse
lie.
them. All right, so we get all these. They kind of explain how he's sitting. Everyone else seems to be standing, and then the commoners or the villagers were kneeling. So,
Well, so let me
they
say-
came.
It kind of was interesting how he filled in the room, essentially. George R. R. Martin filled in the room, because first, to me at least, it sounded like it was just like him and the council, and then it was like, oh, and then there's some king's guards here, and then it's like, oh, there's also all these fucking villagers that have just went through hell everywhere around. Like I
And
just
then
thought
there's
that was
Sansa
pretty.
like halfway through the chapter, and then
Yeah, and, like,
at
so,
the
I
end,
mean,
there's
it-
even a part where he says like he makes a comment, and everyone like some people start to leave, like some people start to shuffle out, and other people start to like go like ooh, there's like oohs and ahs or whatever. So like there's actually an audience here too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess it was just interesting to me, and I mean, it all happens within like a chapter for the most part, at least, that the room fills up. But it was just kind of one of those things that it was.
And you mean fills up like in your mind?
Yeah,
like, These people aren't coming.
Yeah,
and going.
exactly. Yeah, no, everybody was already there, but we had no knowledge of what was going on even at that point. So
Yep.
a slow reveal, I guess.
So who we got? Glow? Who's here?
Who's all there? Eris Oakhart. There's
Who's here to petition? Eris Oakhart is just like a random name
Yeah.
up of a Kingsguard.
Yeah, he's a Kingsguard.
Who's here with the problem? There's a bunch of villagers, and who are the three knights? Do you remember?
The three knights. I just read it like 10 minutes ago too. Why can't I
There's
think?
like one
Raymond Derry?
spokesman. Raymond Derry's kind of the spokesman for most of it.
Yep.
Sad Eye, Sir Carl Vance.
Sad-eyed Sir Carl Vance.
Is that the guy with the birthmark on his face?
Yeah,
Yes. Who's
Weinstein.
handsome except for the Weinstein birthmark.
and there's the mute guy. What's his name?
The mute guy is
Ellen Payne.
Ilan Payne.
Payne.
He's the
But
headsman.
he's not there for the same reason.
And then
Okay.
Joss. Joss is the first person that speaks.
So Joss is one of the villagers. So the three knights who are
Joss is
here
a-
are Sir Raymond Derry. We're going to talk about this for a second. Sir Raymond Derry, Sir Carl Vance, and Sir Mark Piper.
Piper.
Mark Piper.
Derry is the house where Ned and Robert stopped on the way back from King's Landing. Right, so they were there when they were coming down the King's Road. The map I'm showing, and I'll show it again, this is from a YouTube video that's marked, these DVP are Derry, Vance, Piper, and these are the three villages described in this chapter. The DV and P aren't necessarily where they're, like the Derry Castle is, right? But this is Derry land, this is Vance land, and this is Piper land.
And they're supposed to protect those.
They're supposed to
communities.
protect those communities.
Yes.
So Jeff and Glow, I guess this is a question more for you. We don't really see too many of these small communities at all in the Game of Thrones, the Song of Ice and Fire books. Mostly it's like decent sized towns to small cities that we see is the smallest.
That get mentioned, you mean?
That characters go to and get described, right? So the
Right.
only time I can really think of a small holdfast like this is in the Duncan Egg books.
I was going to say
second
Duncan Egg.
I disagree.
With Sir
I
Eustace
disagree.
and the Red Widow.
I disagree.
So what's another one you can give me? Another holdfast then, a small holdfast that you think would be like Wendish Town, Schreier, and Mum's Ford.
Like, I don't know the name of it, but telling you when it happens would spoil.
Either way, Kyle hasn't seen any of these holdfasts, and from what we see in the Duncan Egg books, one where there's actually people alive, and we see them kind of having a threat of attack. What kind of defenses does a place like this have?
So if you're asking me, I would say probably very little, and that these the Kingsguard is probably their main source of protection,
Yes.
and
So
militia maybe they might have a couple guys that have like maybe an old sword or something, but they're
Exactly.
not.
So
Yep,
in the Duncan Egg
exactly.
novels, in the one in the novella I'm talking about, there's two, and they both have to. The one considers attack like being under attack at one point, and all that really is one tower, one stone tower, small. It's like 3 stories, and the villagers around it that farm the field. There was like 9 of them, right? And none of them had ever been in war, and only the guy in the tower had an old sword. The other one maybe had like 40 people tops, but again, there was literally one knight and maybe like less than 10 people who'd ever fought before, and that one was like actually at a stone holdfast. So those are like kind of a medium to a really small holdfast size, like against any even like the numbers that they do shout out, 50 is the lowest of the potential sizes they had. 50 men would run through Cold Moat or whatever the other place is called, Glow.
Sharer, Wendith Town, Mum's Ford.
In this one, but I'm talking about from the Duncan Egg.
So
yeah,
Eustace's
yeah.
town. Yeah, I mean, agreed.
Like, imagine the mountain trying to run through them. That's what this is right here. Either of them, right? Like, Sir Eustace's village would be nothing, but even Cold Moat, which actually had a stone holdfast, like they would be destroyed. Which is basically what happens. Like, the people from, I think, Schreier are the only ones who live, and it's because they have a stone. They have like one kind of, not huge, but like they have a stone building they can all hide in.
But if they really wanted to, they could have. They could have said like they said, smoke them out, and
Yeah, or just starve them
they'd
out.
have been
but,
forced to leave.
Yeah, they weren't really.
It wouldn't have
interested in
taken that
killing
long to
everybody.
smoke them out if they really cared. But
Yeah.
They proved their point. I think they didn't need to hang around and get identified.
They're being
So anyways-
dickheads. Like, who just kills random livestock and burns fields? Like, come on, man. People
Right.
Just so I can
People gotta-
take this map down. The thing I want to talk about is Derry is where we were talking about it right next to King's Road. Right, this is where Ned stopped on the way down near the Trident. Riverrun is right here. So
Where's Derry?
Vance,
It's
Derry,
just
Derry's the D.
Yeah, but there's no
their actual
town.
hall is
Okay.
along the King's Road, but it's not big enough to
okay.
actually get a spot.
Okay.
Vance and Piper are down here, basically south of Riverrun, and the Golden Tooth, which is, and we heard in the Catelyn chapter where Edmure sent forces, and I think they talk about it more here. There's basically just like armies massing on both sides of the Golden Tooth, which is this castle that's basically the road between Castle Rock and Riverrun.
Yeah, they did mention that in this as well. So that means that they kind of went around Riverrun then.
Well,
Yeah,
Castle
they
Rock's
would
down here, so they
probably
probably
have
just
to.
came. In Schreier, the people from Schreier say they came from the south, right? So the people from Schreier said that the brigands came from the south.
But didn't they go to Wendish Town?
Then they went upriver to Mummer's Ford. So the river actually flows south here.
So they never went to Wendish Town then. So
They did. It doesn't really make sense. Like I don't actually know the chronologically, but these two were back to back. It was Schreier, then Mummer's Ford. Wendish Town could have been before or after. I'm not
But what
really
I'm
sure.
saying though, to get to Wendish Town, they had to go around Riverrun.
I probably would have just still come down south of Riverrun.
Around.
I bet you they went the Gold
Okay,
Road.
around. I thought you meant. I thought you meant.
They went the
above.
Gold Road and then up.
They did not go through, is what I'm saying.
It's a far-ass fucking trip.
Either way, it's like small guerrilla warfare that a big
Exactly.
army wasn't going to do anything with. It was hit and runs. and
Behind
they were
enemy
moving.
lines is essentially what I'm getting at as well. They
Yes.
went around,
Yes.
like, and circumvented any of these other things in a stealth mission deep into the heart of the
Well, yeah.
people
Nobody
that-
like the war wasn't. There's no war right now, right?
I know, but they're massing armies, and I'm sure Riverrun would have been ready for them.
Nor were they telling
They didn't have banners. They didn't.
no
yeah.
banners, no armor. So they're really worried about the Castle Rock army, not this little brigand that they didn't even know about. And
Yeah, and Ned
You
talks
know.
about the no banners, no armor thing at the end. But let's keep going. So what's the next part, Jeff?
so they just keep talking about like how they got burned down and just like they killed them, like people's moms and sisters, and just kind of like cry. And then I guess the next big thing becomes
They just got murdered.
who were they? No, I'm not.
So I guess Jeff,
Obviously,
what
I'm
happened
just
at these
glossing
towns?
over it.
We haven't really talked about what happened at these towns.
All right, so basically they straight up just showed up, started attacking livestock, burning all their fields, and then killing a bunch of people. These people would go into their whatever farm protection houses, hide in there, lock themselves up, and then they would throw hay and burn it up. This is I forget Scherer or the other
That was
one.
Wendish.
That was Wendish Town.
That was Wendish, where they
So
burned.
first off, Scherer is the only one that has any survivors, is what they're claiming. That literally everyone at Wendish Town and Mummers Ford died. All these villagers are what's left of Scherer, the ones who helped.
I feel like the guy who was the blacksmith wasn't from there because it said they killed his apprentice and they would have killed me, but I got away.
Yeah, but I think that means a way to he got to the stone holdfast, right? Like you have to imagine when this town's getting attacked, everyone's retreating to the one stone building.
Okay, I guess I'll take it. I'll agree.
That was my thought. I mean, but they say, I'm pretty sure they say everyone from Mummer Ford and Wendish Town was dead. These are the survivors.
I mean, if you quick hop on your horse and ride off, they're not gonna chase down one person out.
Yeah,
of the
so I mean, I don't know that they
I don't know,
mentioned
they
that
might.
100% casualties, but I think
so that's
it's
kind of what I'm getting
like-
at, because there's a part where Raymond Derry tells what happened at Wendish Town, like pretty.
Yeah, I got it
this
right
happened,
here.
and this happened, and this happened, and it reminds me. It made me think of the part in Pirates of the Caribbean when Jack Sparrow's locked up at the beginning of the first movie, and the Black Pearl comes into harbor, and they're like, the Black Pearl, they do this and this and this, and it never leaves any survivors. And Jack Sparrow's like, well, where do the stories come from? I wonder. If nobody ever gets out, so somebody must have got out of these towns, or they wouldn't know exactly what happened to them, right? Which is why I think it's a ridiculous claim that they kind of make that the 100% casualty, which is the way I took it. But go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
They're also exaggerating the number of people that actually were. So like, oh, everybody died, everybody's dead. There was 1,000 people. They killed us all.
And that's what I'm getting at, because they want to go to war.
Well, it's not even that. I think it's just pure chaos. So how do you know? Like, how do you expect somebody to remember exactly how many people were running around killing everybody?
Especially if someone just ran off and said, "Fuck it, I'm not going back there."
Well, and like, I mean, you're not keeping count. Like, you're running for your life, man.
So Jeff, read your quote, and then I'm gonna make a point. Just make a point.
At Wendish Town, the people sought shelter in the holdfast, but the walls were timbered. The raiders piled straw against the wood and burnt them all alive. When the Wendish folk opened their gates to flee the fire, they shot them down with arrows as they came running out, even women with suckling babes. They would have done the same for us, but to share a holdfast made of stone. Some wanted to smoke us out, but the big one said there was riper fruit upriver, and they made for the Mummers Ford.
So, to be the devil's advocate here, I think you can figure that out by just investigating the scene. Oh, they all ran into this all ran into this building, locked it up, started to turn on fire, and now everyone's died with
But it
arrows
says they
at
all
the
burned
gate.
up. It says they all burned up, and then it says they were all shot with arrows. So I get what you're saying,
Both
but-
can happen. At the entrance, there's still fire.
And the other point is, the other quote, real quick, is, "This is all that remains of the holdfast of Scherer, Lord Eddard. The rest are dead, along with the people of Wendish Town and Mummers Ford." So I guess my contradiction to why you would talk this up, like, right, I agree with Kyle that normally, like, oh, this is just madness, like, crazy shit's happening, 3 villages got attacked, just talk it up because this is a serious matter. Ned says towards the end, like, the reason he realizes all these people are so scared is because they thought Robert was going to be here, and they were called forth to basically tell the king that his wife's family did this to them.
Killed their family, yeah,
Right,
killed
so,
everybody,
like-
yeah, ruined everything they cared about.
Is the reason that they're speaking up, so that if that was true, then, like, if I'm one of these villagers, I wouldn't be over exemplifying it, like, yeah, this is how bad she is, and she's even worse and worse and worse, you know what I mean? Like, just tell it how it is. But I guess the lords know that Ned isn't Robert, right? They know who
No,
this guy is.
they. I mean, most of these people don't. So what I'm
Yeah, but
saying
the
though
lords
is
do.
that, like, I don't know that they are talking it up.
Okay.
I think you're
I thought
kind
that's
of
what you were saying.
Getting
Well,
too
that's
far
what-
there.
That
And I think-
does say,
I think
like,
this is just the eyewitness thing where, like, you don't really remember details because so much crazy shit is happening.
No, I got you. Yeah, and the villagers all talk about Scherer only, and only Derry talks about Wendish Town, which makes sense because he's from there. So I thought you were the one that was saying they were talking it up.
No.
I'm saying that I don't think actually. Well, I guess I kind of said it too. I just don't think that 100% of these town people died. It just doesn't make sense to me. That you kill 100, like you said, 100% casualty, maybe 95, something like that. But somebody gets away.
I'll sell out 87.
So do we
Alright.
think Varys is really upset about this?
Varys
there's-
don't give 2 fucks.
That's what I'm saying. So, like,
anybody
there's
but
this little-
Varys.
Anytime I read one of his quotes, I always take it
Says,
like kind of
Oh,
sarcastic.
dreadful, how cruel can men be?
What
And
does he
was
say that
it-
after?
When they were talking about this, even women with the suckling babes come
Yeah, when
Wendish
they shoot
Town.
the
Yeah, and
arrows.
he's like, How cruel can men be? But he seems like he's just as cruel, just maybe in different ways.
Yeah, I don't think. I think maybe he expresses sincerity, and maybe the people take it as sincere, but I doubt he's that sincere about this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he manipulates everybody to get shit done rather than murdering them all. But
have we seen him do any like harmful manipulation?
I mean, maybe he was in the cellar with the whole
Maybe.
Danny shit. Like we don't know yet.
That's true. That's true. There's gonna be a war for something. Yeah.
Maybe.
So they tell the stories. So Ned asked how many there were.
50, hundreds.
Hundreds and
Hundred.
hundreds.
Hundreds and hundreds.
So then Ned's like, they don't have banners. They don't have any ornaments on their armor. We don't know who this was. Like, there's nothing to do.
But they had war horses. They had
Old
chainmail.
guy says it was war horses.
They had steel-tipped
good quality
weapons.
shit.
And they had
Good quality
one
shit.
big clue.
One big motherfucker.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they-
giant.
What if they actually, what if it was like you, Nelson? Like not the mountain, but just like, oh, this guy's bigger than everybody else.
Well, that's what they say. Somebody says that.
Yeah,
Like,
somebody
there's-
says that. But
There's
then
a bunch
the
of
other
fucking tall people.
The argument against that, though, is then he's a monster even compared to his brother, who's a monster to most.
That's
Like,
what
I'm the size
Pycelle
of-
says, yeah.
I'm the size of the Hound, right? So if like you can distinguish between me and like
Yeah, and
The
the other
big
thing they
show.
said was like, do you want to see the proof of his mark? And I'm sure it's just like a body cut in half with like one slice,
or just like a horse,
right?
a horse without a head somewhere, in one clean slice.
They said that.
Did they say
yeah,
that?
I'd have to. The Mark Piper, whoever the young knight that gets angry.
Loris.
So Piper called. Yeah. So they basically, all the villagers seem afraid to call anybody out by name. They keep saying like the big one, and he was like monstrously huge. But then Piper straight out calls him out. He's like, "Yo, it was the fucking mountain." Okay, like, and then that's when
Do you
there's
need
like
to see a
murmuring in
seal on the
hall.
on the corpses? He says, it was Gregor. That was Sir Raymond actually who said that.
Sir Raymond Derry.
Huh. I didn't understand what that meant. Do you need to see a seal on the corpses? That's funny.
So Grand Maester Pycelle rose ponderously from the council table, his chain of office clinking. Sir Mark, with respect, you cannot know this outlaw was Sir Gregor. There are many large men in the realm,
As large as the mountain that rides.
Sir Carl said.
I have never met one.
Nor is any man here.
Sir Raymond added hotly.
Even his brother is a pup beside him. My lords, open your eyes. Do you need to see a seal on the corpses? It was Gregor.
Why should Sir Gregor turn brigand? Pycelle asked. By the grace of his liege lord, he holds a stout keep and lands of his own. The man is an anointed knight,
A false knight.
Sir Mark said.
Lord Tywin's mad dog.
My lord hand, Pycelle declared in a stiff voice. I urge you to remind this good knight that Lord Tywin Lannister is the father of our own gracious queen,
Thank you, Grand Maester Pycelle.
Ned said.
I fear we might have forgotten that if you have not pointed it out.
I didn't know Tyrion was making an appearance as Maester Pycelle.
Pycelle is an old man like this.
You kind of
This is
sound like an
Tyrion.
old lady. That's the best part. There
You
was one
literally
there.
didn't change at all. That was no different.
So about the whole seal on the corpse, I think he's making a jest, saying like, "Do you need to see his fucking?"
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
No, I don't think
you
it's a
could read
slice
it
in
Like, would you
half,
need him to
but it
sign
could be
his-
read like that. I like that version better, the one that you guys said.
Yeah, no, I know. But that's how I read it. It was like, did he need to sign, like, hey, the mountain was here, like, on
Yeah.
dead bodies, like, for you to believe this? Like, no, it was fucking him.
I get what you guys are saying. I don't understand. I still don't think this is a valid argument, though. Like, in a court of law, this doesn't hold up. Like, you should see the bodies. They're really fucked up. Like,
No,
it had to be the big guy.
That's not what we're
yeah,
saying.
but here's
Okay,
the
okay,
thing.
okay,
like
okay.
in this time period, it's all alleged.
I know, there's no DNA, there's no fingerprints,
So
so
what-
it's all he said, she said.
What
But
Glow and I are saying, though, is, like, everybody is pointing to that it's this giant man that matches the fucking description of the giant man everybody knows. Like, did you need him to sign his work so that you would believe it? Like, I'm
And I'm
not
saying-
saying, like,
and I'm saying
you have
Ned
to
could
see
say
these
yes
dead
here.
bodies to believe it. I'm saying, like, you have this room full of people making the same accusation.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Okay, gotcha. That makes
Did
more
you need to
sense.
see, like, him stamp his name on the dead bodies for you to believe that it was him?
Well, okay, so I actually don't agree with that argument anymore. Like, the argument is there are good big men, and you said there's a room full of people that saw him, but all those villagers didn't know what the mountain looked like, and none of those knights were there. They said they were all at.
None of the knights were
Gary
there.
was at
Yeah, they were
Riverrun,
all
and the other two were at
attending
the
there.
Golden Tooth. So the only
True.
people who actually saw what happened was the mountain, and none of those people know what the mountain looked like. They're just saying he was a big dude. And Sir Carl Vance and Mark Piper, who saw the bodies, are saying, oh, this had to be the mountain. But that's a ridiculous claim just based off bodies. That's my claim. Right? I see what they're saying, and I understand in this time how that makes sense, but eyewitnesses from people who don't know who the person is aren't good eyewitnesses.
And as we stated earlier, people tend to exaggerate shit, so they could have seen a big guy and be like, oh, he's
true?
fucking 12 feet tall.
I'm not saying I doubt any of these stories. Like, probably it's the fucking mountain, right? It makes the most sense. Everything lines up, and apparently Ned thinks so too. I'm just saying, but like Jeff said, I guess this is how probably most trials were done, right? All these people say it was, and you say it's not. It doesn't.
That's why we burned witches.
Well, and also Ned
There might have been,
Ned tends.
Kyle, you don't know that they might have been witches, and we might have just gotten them all.
Ooh,
That's why there's none anymore.
there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, you're right. That was it.
In today's day and age, I feel like I could get destroyed for even saying that. I obviously witch burnings was
I
bad.
thought that was
I
pretty
hope I
much a
don't-
joke.
That was a joke. I hope I don't have to say that.
Thought it was pretty clear. Don't worry.
Well, so Ned thinks, I don't know if this is jumping ahead too much. Well, Ned seems to believe it is the mountain because this is a good tactic by Tywin. Hey, attack their holdfast, make them spread out their men a little bit more, weaken the Riverrun front, and go
So
from
exactly.
there.
So these men say,
Keep them on their toes. Yeah, they can't. There's not a single point of attack anymore. Now there's these.
well, so hold on. So these men say that Edmure Tully just wanted to attack. Didn't even want to consult the king. So Hoster Tully is the only reason these people are here right now. If Hoster is so Hoster's sick, right? Say Hoster's dead and Edmure's the Lord. What happens if these guys don't come to Ned first here?
So just because there's a shitload of names. So Hoster is his father-in-law.
Is Edmure's
Catelyn's
father, who's like
dad.
super sick? Yeah,
And
remember
then
Cat was upset.
I know. I'm just trying to make sure to keep them straight. So Edwin is her brother.
Edmure. But yeah,
Edmure, sorry.
Edmure.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
you're doing good, Kyle. So what happens if Hoster's not around and Edmure is actually the Lord, and they don't consult Ned? Ned hypothesizes this in this chapter. Because they say Edmure was just going to attack without doing anything. And Ned thinks this is a great tactic by Tywin because if he does this and Edmure attacks back,
Tywin Lannister was much a fox as a lion, and if indeed he sent Sir Gregor to burn and pillage, and Ned did not doubt that he had, he'd taken care. See that he rode under cover of night, without banners, in the guise of a common brigand. Should Riverrun strike back, Cersei and her father would insist that it had been the Tullys who broke the king's peace, not the Lannisters. The gods only knew what Robert would believe.
exactly. So Ned thinks that this is Tywin's plan. Do this, but make it so that it's questionable whether it was him or not.
Yeah.
Because he knows Edmure's going to attack back, which Edmure would have done if Hoster didn't make him basically send these people to the King's Landing.
Yeah.
So whether that's true or not, and this was Tywin's intention, is yet to be seen. But I doubt Tywin. Like, what does Tywin have to gain from doing this, right? Like, from hitting these three things. Besides, there's one other thing that this causes, right? So they say what Edmure is doing with his forces now.
He's spreading them out.
He's spreading them out. So
yeah, he's weakening his forces.
He's weakening the Riverrun front.
That was
Yeah,
the backup option. The option A that he would have preferred is definitely what we were just talking about, was an attack back that he could say, look, you fucking attacked me first.
yeah,
Wouldn't it have been smart for Hoster? I think he'd Hoster like, hey, don't attack yet. But hey, everybody that's around us, come to Riverrun. Or at least like come closer to us
So he does have
while
armies.
we don't attack.
He does have armies at Riverrun. If you remember when Ned asked where these lords were when all this was happening.
No, he's saying the villages.
That. I'm saying
Oh,
all these
villagers.
little
Gotcha.
holdfasts, hey, come here. Just like the North does when it's winter. Come chill around us so at least our army can protect you. Because we're not sending out men to your little ass holdfast. That's the last thing we're going to do. We're not going to weaken the defense of the main castle. That's
a good. I like. That's a really good idea, Jeff. But and again, I'm not saying this wouldn't work, but there are like other logistics worry about like food and stuff. Not that you don't have to worry about that when you send men to the villages, because they don't have food to feed the soldiers. So, but just go ahead.
I was just going to say, and we're seeing today how people react to actual disasters, and they wouldn't have believed him anyway. They would all just stayed there.
Yeah, but I think if
Because, I
Riverrun
mean,
had
people won't
had a
even
way,
wear a fucking mask.
that's true. But I
Put
think
a goddamn mask on.
I think if Kyle did have a way, I think if Riverrun did have a way to house these people and feed them, then that's a way better strategy than what they do. But I pulled the map back up and I'm showing you guys again. So where Edmure ends up spreading his troops out is along this river, right where this V and P are. So Sherrera and Mummers Ford are right to the right of that river. So he's basically he's sending men to all the holdfasts right within a day's ride of this river, basically fortifying like a north-south line. But he's taking away from the Golden Tooth in Riverrun by doing
But so this kind of goes back to that discussion we had at the beginning about going around Riverrun. And so if he's spreading out, like, I mean, he's still making a wall that is very useful of defense here. Like, I
for
mean,
brigands, right? But when you spread out your troops, any one spot is now vulnerable to a large attack. I guess is Tyler's.
yeah, no, I mean, I see it, but at the same time, like, I mean, he's like, what would stop the army from marching around and attacking from the other side or something like that?
Oh, if he hadn't done this?
Yeah, well, I mean, exactly.
Okay.
So, I mean, an army could have went through those places. Why not?
Yeah, which is like what blows my mind about, like, I don't know, battle tactics back in the, like, I in olden times, or just like just fiction, I guess. Like, how does it just doesn't make sense, like how you move entire large armies. Like, it seems like you don't want everybody in one spot, like, for the logistic reasons I said earlier, and just for the reasons you're pointing out. Like, how do you stop other people's movement if basically you're at a point instead of like a line or something?
You need to
But
read
whatever.
about the Civil
The
War.
art of war. The art of war.
No, just
Yeah.
the Civil War.
The Civil War, I feel like, is how many? Again, what were like the army sizes in the Civil War? Do any of you guys know?
I mean, weren't there like hundreds of thousands of casualties?
Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, like, in a
Pretty bad.
battle, what would the average, like, 10,000 versus 10,000, or way more than that? Like, in this, I would say, like,
I
the
have
average
no
battle.
idea. 10,000 is a
I
lot
would say
of
the
people.
average battle in Game of Thrones is probably like 10,000 v 10,000. Maybe probably trails off later once the armies start dwindling.
So here, look. So the Civil War, Battle of Gettysburg, largest battle, right? 85,000 men in the Union, 75,000 in the fucking Confederacy.
Okay,
It's insane.
Without spoiling anything, that's about
a lot of
the
people.
same size. If that's the largest battle in the Civil War, then the Civil War, this might be completely off. I'm not a historian, but I'm saying is similar in scale to like, not this particular war, but like maybe all the wars that we've experienced, like all the battles we've experienced in the first 5 books, right? Like, I think there is a battle where there's an army of like close to 100,000 in it. Maybe that's a stretch. That's a fucking lot. That's a lot. Like, that's even fucking Khal Drogo's Khalazar. Maybe I have that wrong.
Yeah, I think you're wrong.
But like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I need to learn more about that. I just don't understand how, like, you control those and like move those and actually fortify many spots. I guess you just hold like really important positions, like trade lines and waterways and stuff like that.
So it is difficult to move that many people through shitty terrain. So it's a lot of roads is what they use, and that was kind of what I was getting at, I guess, with some of that, like, circling around. But I mean, there's obviously roads more than what's on your map here. Like,
Yeah, but just not the main ones.
yeah.
Jeff, don't you know a lot about like history stuff? I thought you like were interested in that.
I'm not a history major.
I know, but I thought you were like I don't know. I thought you had like history.
I mean, I
classes and
enjoyed the
stuff.
war, but I don't know like how they moved and the details of it all. But I do think it's fascinating when, like, I loved learning about the Revolutionary War and the bits and pieces, the movement and whatnot. But no, I don't know the first thing about it. I think it's very fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I just
My dad was actually really into the Gettysburg one, and like
yeah, I think I've
just
taken the
listening
walking
how
tour there.
the
but that
Battle
was
of
a while ago.
Gettysburg went down is pretty crazy when you talk about, like, oh, we're gonna have someone push up the front and then you got the flanks and like
What was it?
just the
Something
planning
charge?
of it all.
Something charge.
Pickett.
Pickett's charge right in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Brought the center.
Yep.
He didn't break shit.
Pickett's
Or
charge.
did- no, he got
was up.
tossed
He
back.
was going down.
So-
The picket fence was like the big hurdle, I guess. Like, they could have just knocked it down, but they were like climbing over it and just like getting fired upon. Like,
What?
that might be a myth.
His name was
yeah,
Pickett.
dude. I'm telling.
His name was.
His
Pickett.
name was Pickett, but there was also a fence there right in the middle of the battlefield that like people were like climbing over.
I don't know if
So
that's true.
I mean, you'd have to look.
I
up.
never-
You'd
I
have
never
to
heard
fact
that
check me on that, but
I
it's
never
definitely
heard that.
something I learned in 8th grade.
But yeah, so I
I
guess
didn't. Yeah, I've never studied the war, but
I guess getting back to Game of Thrones, viewers, this is something that I've never really dug deep in, is like the tactics of some of these battles, but it's something that's definitely interesting. And I've heard YouTube videos talk about like how George R. R. Martin is like a huge history buff and like really likes battles and stuff, so he thinks about this stuff. I was gonna give an example, but I'll save it for the spoiler section. So if this is something I want to dive into it, if something that you guys aren't interested, let us know in the comments, and we will leave some of this stuff out, but in future episodes. But yeah, let us know.
I'm at this point. I think Ned just like is like, all right, I'm about to make my ruling. I don't know if there's any more logistics that we really need to dive into. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So
I
Ned
think
thinks,
something
Ned
to
thinks about
note-
Tywin's plans. Go ahead, Jeff.
I think something important to note is that Ned's kind of like looking around the room to see how people are responding, and he sees like people like listening, and then kind of like, oh, I know who that guard is. Like, why is he leaving right now? So
Well, like in passing, he sees
just a
Sansa
note.
too, and thinks like, "Oh, she shouldn't be here." But there's only Septa could know what was going to happen when she brought her here. But he thinks about Tywin's plan, like we were just talking about. And then Littlefinger says, like, "So what are you guys asking?"
So,
Like,
so hang on, before we go beyond what Jeff just said, so, like, people leaving, like, are they going to go and tell Tywin? Is that where they're headed?
I
And
think
I know you
he
probably
says
can't
it-
answer that, but...
well, I think he says like he thinks they're off to tell Cersei. Like he thinks some of them are off to tell Cersei, who's not here, right? But she's still in King's Landing.
Yeah.
She's not off hunting. So
Yeah.
I think the people leaving were mainly to be like, I'm gonna go tell Cersei what's going on. But there's also we might have not got there yet, but there's a funny part where Littlefinger's like, oh, you should. This isn't a king's job. Like you should go talk to Tywin about this. Like they're Tywin's men. Talk to Tywin about it. Like that would go over well. Showing up on Tywin's doorstep, like, hey, did you send them out after us? Can you stop that?
I didn't see that, but that was pretty
Can
fun.
you stop, please?
If we send you off alone, oh yeah, send us back with your head. No, that's something else. Littlefinger.
No,
said.
yeah, it's right. It's right. I think it's right after that. Oh yeah, Pycelle says it. He says this is not the king's problem, but Tywin, since Sir Gregor is his man, he suggests these knights go talk to him. And he said, and Ned's argument is, even if Tywin is serving out justice, technically it's all the king's justice. You just serve it for the king. So like when Ned beheads somebody, he's beheading them in the name of Robert Baratheon, right? So there's no point to send somebody to a middleman when you're already here. That's how Ned gets out of that. But that was Pycelle's argument. Yeah. So I guess that's actually a little bit forward. Littlefinger says, if you guys are protecting your own lands now, because Ned says, okay, what are you doing about it? And he says they're spreading their troops out. He says, what are you asking? And Derry basically says, the Lannisters broke the king's peace, and we want, like, your
approval.
approval to go to seek the king's peace. Yeah, exactly. And then that's when they say they weren't going to ask except for Hoster, which we already talked about. Thinks some more about Tywin's plans, and then that's when Pycelle suggests it was Gregor. And this is when Pycelle suggests they wait till the king comes back, right?
Yeah.
And Ned's like, nope. He told me to sit. Again, we talked about this already. He says, nope. He told me to rule in his stead. I'm gonna take this opportunity. I'm gonna do it. And this is when he starts calling out, like, you do this, you do this, you do this. So first person he calls out, Robar Royce. And what's his job, Glow?
He has to go inform the king about what's happening here today.
Yeah. So Robar's dad is out hunting with the king, and he's like, go tell him what's going on. Just keep him updated. And after that, Mark's like, all right, cool. So we're good to go. Like we can go do our thing. Mark Piper says that, and this is when Ned like
No, he says,
stands
"Do we have
up.
your leave to take our vengeance
take our
against Sir
vengeance.
Gregor?" Then
And Ned's like, we're talking about justice here, not vengeance. So then Ned steps up and he talks to all the people. He's like, can't give you your houses or your shit or your dead people back, but hopefully I can give you justice. He's like, normally because in the north we do our own killing. I hate to do this, but I have to send another person because of my leg. And Loras Tyrell volunteers like right away, like I will go. That's when Littlefinger says he'll send his head back. Like the mountain will send your head back, like because Loras is what, like I think he's 16.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we talked about before. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he did. I mean, he beat the mountain in the joust.
Yeah, in a joust.
Kind of
After-
trickery, and by a little trickery using the horse and heat. So Ned kind of just ignores that and stands up and or maybe he's already sat back down. He looks over the hall and decides to send 4 people. Who's he send?
Thoros of Myr, Beric Dondarrion, and I forget the other two.
Sir Gladden Wild and Sir Lothar Mallory. So he tells them to each take 20 men, and he'll give 20 of his own, making it an even 100. And
He shells out a lot of his guardsmen for a lot of
so I was wondering that too.
bidding.
So
How much did he bring? Or there's the same 15 guys like, oh shit, here we go again.
because he gave 50 men to Janos Slint for the tournament, and we never heard that he got them back, but I'm guessing he got them
Yeah, I
back.
mean, he had to have gotten them back.
I mean, did he?
Yeah.
It sounds like, I mean, I
Are
don't
you
know
just
if
gonna die? If no one
Well,
died
like-
during the
well,
tournament.
no, but like in the Arya chapter after the tournament, there was still shit going down.
Right, that's what I was saying. Like, they probably still needed help
Yeah,
guarding
there's
the
still a
streets
ton
and
of- there's still a
whatnot.
fuck ton of
And
people in
then
the city.
his guards got attacked in the middle of the street
Only
with him.
4 of them.
I assume he got those guards back, but I'm not sure.
He did.
I
Either
don't
way, he
understand why
didn't
he
He can
wouldn't.
go
pull
with
from 'em.
200 men. And a lot of times, like, oh, you can take 20 of mine. I'll give you 15 of mine. Here's 30 of mine.
I like that voice. Auctioneer's voice.
That's
All
Ned.
right, Glo, so Ned makes these commands. He tells all those people what to do, and then when he makes his like final command, Glo, why don't you read that?
In the name of Robert of the House Baratheon, the first of his name, King of the Andals and the Rhoynar and the First Men, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm, by the word of Eddard of the House Stark, his hand, I charge you to ride to the Westlands with all haste, to cross the Red Fork of the Trident under the King's flag, and there bring the King's justice to the false knight Gregor Clegane, and to all those who shared in his crimes. I denounce him and attaint him, and strip him of all rank and titles, of all lands and incomes and holdings, and do sentence him to death. May the gods take pity on his soul.
My question, do you have to strip someone of all their lands and incomes if you're just going to sentence them to death afterwards anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, they got to go to someone. You don't want them to go to their family, right?
That makes it so it comes back to the king instead of going to him?
He just completely just destroy this guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to kill him and shit on his grave.
Well,
Basically.
I mean, he committed treason against the kingdoms.
No, yeah, I gotcha. I just didn't seem like a point. But so Ned makes his final ruling. What's weird is, like, he doesn't even respond to Loras. Like, after Loras volunteers, like, he doesn't say, like, oh no. He literally just, like, sits down and, like, calls out other people. Which is, like, kind of embarrassing, I guess, for Loras, right?
Yeah, a little bit. But
Yeah,
at
I
the
mean,
same
he
time, he's
definitely
16.
is like, because usually I would say most of the time if someone like volunteers for something, like, oh, I know, I'll go do this for you. Like, how many times do you actually get shot down?
Well, it's like,
You know,
you're a coach, Jeff. Imagine, like, you're looking at, like, your backup
I mean, it
roster,
happens
and
all
you're
the
like-
time.
you're like,
Think
hey,
about
we got-
that bad kid who wanted to play special teams, and he's like, hey, I'll go run out there on the
Nelson
field, and like,
begging to
nah, it's okay,
return
we'll go with
punts.
this guy.
Well, yeah, it's like who wants to go in next? It's like I will coach. It's like Kyle, why don't you go instead?
Give me Jerry. Jerry, get out here.
It's like, dude, what? So basically, afterwards, Loras asks him, like, well, what the heck? What am I gonna do? Like, what's my job? And Ned's like, the goal is justice, and you're after vengeance, which I don't really understand. Because he won
so
the
I thought
tournament.
he said it to Pycelle.
No, he says that to Loras. At the end, when Loras is like, why didn't you pick me? Lord Eddard, when the echo of his words had died away, the Knight of Flowers seemed perplexed. Lord Eddard, what of me?
Oh,
Ned looked
yeah,
down
yeah.
on him from high. Loras Tyrell seemed almost as young as Rob. No one doubts your valor, Sir Loras, but we are about justice here, and what you seek is vengeance.
Okay.
Tells Barrett
No, you're right.
Like, what's the deal with that? Like,
Yeah,
vengeance
from
from
the
the tourney. He
tournament.
won the tourney. Just
I
because
don't think it was
Gregor
about
got
the-
pissed off and hit him off his horse afterwards?
Yeah.
Because he got knocked off his horse afterwards? Okay.
Yeah, but he kind of got
that's the only thing I can
bitched.
think of,
Like,
too. I
he
just
got
wondered.
bitched.
When Leaving Varys tells Ned, that is like, if I was in your place, I would have taken Loras, because if you have Lannisters for enemies, you need Tyrells for friends.
Tyrell and Payne looks pretty
Tyrell and
pissed,
Lannisters
too.
are kind of like, not rivals, but not like at war with each other, but they're like contenders.
consider them
right?
rivals.
They kind of do fill the same hole.
Yeah.
They're both rich.
Yeah, it's like it's a number 1 and 2 richest families in Westeros, right? So basically saying, like, you're going against which richest, you could use a second richest.
Yeah.
on
Oh,
your
yeah.
side. And Ned's like, whatever. I don't think the Tyrells are going to take it as a slight. He's young.
He'll outgrow it. Yeah.
He'll outgrow it. And then Varys like, well, what about Ill and Payne? You overlook the King's justice. And he's like, yeah, well, the Paynes are bannermen of the Lannisters, so I'm not going to send them. He's biased. Basically, was his whole thing is no bias. And Varys says, well, Ilyn didn't look happy at the back of the hall, and I hope he grows out of it too, because he so does love his work, which is cutting people's fucking heads off.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like I said, I know. So I guess this is a prediction that I can make because I have a spoiler a little bit of Ned dying. Is I think that is probably a little foreshadowing to Ilan Payne getting to do the deed. But we don't have to talk about that because you guys know, obviously.
So you're
I don't-
unclear. You're unclear of the manner of death.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just
Okay.
know he ends up dead.
All right, I didn't know that.
No, but I mean, I feel like
It'd
I've
be a
said
shame
that.
if he. It would be a shame if he lives.
It'd be a shame if he lived.
That would
After
be
all
the
this,
ultimate
that would be the
twist.
Spoiler.
ultimate twist. Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Ned's in book 5.
That would be crazy. Yeah, I think that would change everything.
All right, so I'm into the Kyle prediction section. Ned will get killed.
I think Ilan's gonna
By
have
Ilan?
at least
Or by
gonna be
beheading?
goading the king into saying. I think he's gonna have some part in it.
Aelin doesn't have a tongue.
He doesn't
and
have
can't
a
write.
tongue.
Oh, yeah,
so
I
he
guess
can't,
you're right.
Can't talk.
He's gonna be going. I can't even do it. I don't want to be on recording.
She's gonna be
now.
doing charades.
No,
You're
no.
doing
He's
charades.
gonna
Oh, you're
sign
trying to make
language. Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what do I put in the predictions? Kyle get killed by Ilan because of Ilan.
Not Kyle.
Ned will get killed because
Ned.
of.
No, he's. How about this? How about he's floating up in the list of potential people to be the ones that kill Ned? Because obviously Jamie wants something to do with Ned, you know. So like, I mean, there's a list, but Ilan Payne has been added to the list.
Okay. Got it. Any other predictions for this chapter? What happens with this war?
Whew, I mean, it's going to be a bad one. I think it's going to happen. I think this is the beginning of the war, for sure. I think this is kind of the turning point of things kicking off.
So, like, Ned sending men out is the start of the war. I guess.
Well, I mean, if you really want to get into it, it's the brigands. I think Gregor's going to claim it's not him. So, I think, and this is more of me having some spoilers because I know the Mountain has a couple actors and I know he exists for more than one season. So I know that they don't succeed in the justice part, or at least Ned's. And you don't have to confirm any of this because I think I know, and I probably do, and I'm probably right, but I don't necessarily know. Anyway, I think he's gonna claim innocence, and it's gonna be this mess, obviously, and Robert's gonna be like, you didn't even know it was him, and you know the whole spiel. And
so
Cersei's
Robert's gonna basically
pissed.
so Robert's basically gonna undo everything Ned did here, like disagree with those choices and try and undo it.
Yeah, I think that's probably how it's going to happen. But I think things are going to be set into too much motion by then, that there will be no undoing. It's just going to be... I think this is also the start of what gets Ned killed.
One thing this made me think of, it's ridiculous that Robert thinks this is a good time to go hunting after Ned and Jaime have this fight. Like, obviously tensions are high. Like,
that was exactly why he went. Didn't we have this discussion?
I think we did, but like...
Because he hates dealing with shit.
You have to know something's going to happen while you're gone. Hey, I guess he purposely didn't want to be
I don't
here
think
for
he
this.
knew that these holdfasts were going to get attacked, but
armies were moving beforehand and stuff, right before he left. Like, were Eddard's Edmure's armies moving? I don't know. It just Robert's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right, let's say goodbye to Kyle.
Is that it?
Right, later, dudes.
So I got Aelin's up on the list to kill Ned. They don't succeed in killing Gregor. He claims innocence. Robert tries to undo some of this when he gets back, but too much will have happened.
I think we talked about a lot of different stuff, but I thought this was a good podcast. I think Nelson will be happy when he edits this, which isn't always the case.
I think the viewers will be happy, which is what
I think a lot of it was the beginning banter of half an hour of before we started. So.
Yeah, and again, like chapters like this, we can cut a ton out if we're not talking about like battle schematics and like really where everything's laid out, which we don't have to. So give us some feedback if you guys are interested in that. Let us know. If not, we'll skip over it. And I'll study it on my own time in my own nerd cave. But all right, we'll see you next time, Kyle, in Sansa 3. How crazy is that? We're on Ned
Kyle.
11 and Sansa 3.
That is pretty crazy.
What's that tell you about Sansa chapters? But bye, Kyle.
All right, we'll see you next one, Kyle.
Bye, guys.
See you later, Kyle.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
See you later, Kyle. It's great hanging out, friend. Great input on that Eddard chapter, bud. And now, on to the spoiler section of Ned 11. Guys, what are your hot takes for this ode?
I only have one thing. Jeff, do you have anything?
I mean, not really. Ellen Payne chops off Ned's head. You know, Kyle's going to be right about that. Does Tywin? Do you think Tywin really wants to stoke the fire? You think he's ready for war? You think he?
I think everything Ned thinks about is probably pretty accurate.
I think
I don't know why else.
He's just
why else
putting
would he
his
do this, right?
Pieces in place just in case there is a war.
So two things is, and something I mentioned to you guys before we recorded the podcast, because I didn't think you had an eye out when we were reading to keep an eye out for it. So I wanted to, at least while we were talking about it. There's theories in the map that I actually used in this episode is from a YouTube video that is about one of these theories. The YouTube video, I don't actually know the name of it, but it's by Preston Jacobs on YouTube. Check him out. He's my favorite Game of Thrones YouTuber from his playlist on the Riverlands. But what it talks about is that theory involves how a lot of the Riverland lords, especially like the lesser lords, Darry in particular, we already know Darry, Piper Vance, were Targaryen supporters, right? So they kind of want the same thing that Illyria wants, theoretically, depending on how much they know. If they know that Fagon is across the river, if they know Dany, if they know Viserys is planning on coming back with an army of Dothraki, they want to cause disruption in the realm now, right? That's Varys' goal. Cause war now, because we need to invade. And when we invade, that's going to be, if the Seven Kingdoms are already at war, that's the best time. So there's theories that because the Riverrun lords, Piper Vance Derry, are Targaryen supporters, that this didn't even happen. The Mountain never attacked these holdfasts. All these holdfasts, everyone's still alive, right? It's like I was saying in the middle of that last chapter. These holdfasts probably have like 10, 20 people tops each. Maybe they're larger than that, but this is what I'm picturing. 10, 20 people maybe. So if you tell Ned, oh, all these people are dead, he's not going to come check on that, right? And if he does, you can hide him somewhere, right? So...
I mean, I didn't really think about that. Like, they fake people's death, but...
Well, you don't have to fake a death. You just tell Ned they're dead when they're not. Nobody wouldn't be the wiser, right?
Right, but what happens when we actually find out that the Mountain is running around burning shit to the fucking ground?
So, later when we find out what the Mountain's doing, it's after the war's already started. So everyone's doing this. There's a lot of groups that are doing this. Even the Brotherhood Without Banners are doing it at this point. We don't know the Brotherhood Without Banners. If this is fake, the Brotherhood Without Banners were doing it before Gregor was doing it. But... if this is and when Gregor does it, maybe it's not Gregor, maybe it's the Bloody Mummers. One of them like specifically targets septs. Like they mostly only attack septs. They never say that out loud, but every time we hear of them, they're sacking a sept. So, and I'm not saying that Gregor didn't do this. Most likely Gregor did this. I'm just telling you guys, keeping you up to date on theories that Derry, specifically Derry. Like we even hear when Tyrion and Jaime are talking about Derry that there was like bare spots on the wall where tapestries clearly hung, where like the stone was dirty or like you can tell tapestries on there.
Is Derry where the last Duncan Egg book takes place?
Yes.
No.
Uh-huh.
That's White Walls.
Wasn't it like the cow spotted walls?
It's the Butter Wells, but their castle's called White Walls.
When were we in Derry?
Ned stops in Derry on the way south from Winterfell.
Nah,
that's where
Derry
it's like
was
the chapter
the last one.
No, it wasn't.
That's where the
it was Ashford Meadows, then it's to Sir Eustace and Cold Moat, and then it's to White Walls.
All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead now.
Derrys
Let's
were
get
there.
back on to talking about the Derrys being Targaryen supporters.
Yeah, so the Derrys are definitely Targaryen supporters. The two evidence we have, and it might have already happened. I don't remember if it's this one or later on. I think it's actually Jaime. It is. It's in a later Jaime chapter. I think probably in A Feast or Crows or whichever one he's in. But he thinks about the trip where him and Tyrion stopped at Derry on the way north, going up to Winterfell. And Jaime remembers that they saw these bare spots where tapestries clearly were hanging like a month ago and had been there for a long time. And then him and Tyrion were walking through the cellars and they saw all these...
They find them in like boxes, right?
Tapestries of all the Targaryen kings. Exactly. They found boxes of the tapestries. So the Derrys were literally like hanging Targaryen tapestries up until like potentially 15 years after Robert's sitting on the throne, right? So Derrys are pretty huge Targaryen supporters. And right now, the number one goal in Westeros for Targaryen supporters is start a war to make it easier to invade. So, I'm not saying I believe it. I think it makes plenty of sense that Tywin does this himself, and this is actually Gregor. But also, some of the stuff I was pointing out in the section with Kyle, like, you said, like, the stuff in Wendish Town, nobody was there to know how they died. I doubt everyone actually died, and also you can deduce a lot of that from the scene afterwards. The buildings burned, there's people with arrows in them, right? Obviously, they tried to burn the buildings and then shot them when they ran out. So, there's not a lot of weight behind it, and I think all the evidence I actually brought up with Kyle, because I wasn't telling him the purpose of it being fake, but the purpose of it, if it is fake, it's because the Derrys are Targaryen supporters and they want havoc going on in the realm. Glo, do you have anything for this chapter?
So the one we already talked about. The other is, what's it called? Why is Loras really is all bent out of shape just because he got thrown off a horse like that? He wants to go and fight the Mountain. I feel like there's an ulterior motive there, because that 16-year-old little bitch can't take on the Mountain. I don't care how big
I agree.
he is.
I agree, and I think he's. I don't think this is really as much a grudge against the Mountain as it is he just like looking for glory, right? He's young, dumb, and full of cum, and just wants to like be a hero, right? He wants to be like the tournament champion. He wants to be he's kind of like a boy version of Sansa, right? Like Sansa loves all the songs and like she hears about the knights. I'm sure Loras is the other side. Like he's grown up kind of like Bran, like hearing about all the greatest knights and how they won all these tournaments and went out and killed all these bad people, right? I think he just wants to add another line to his resume, kind of. He doesn't seem to take too much offense to it when Ned tells him no. Right, he says, what's my job?
Yeah, but at the same time, he's like really trying to die here, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he's got a chance if he goes, but The point that Varys makes is a good one. This is the first time we really hear anything about a Tyrell Lannister rivalry, which is why I didn't get too into it with Kyle, but it's probably a good move by Ned, right? If he sends
Loras dies by a Lannister hand, then the Tyrells are immediately on the Stark side.
Or are they pissed at Ned for sending him? You sent our son to die. Like how could you think a 16-year-old boy would beat the Mountain, right? I can see Mace Tyrell saying that to Ned.
True.
I think Ned's decision is a good one here, going with impartial people. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have much besides the Targaryen thing.
It's weird. Why is Beric still? Why? I don't understand why Beric and them are still hanging around. Like, why didn't they leave?
Just because you brought up Beric, this reminds me of a chapter from Storm of Swords where Arya's with them, and Harwin, the boy from Winterfell, he's actually Ned's door servant right now. He's with them, and he actually tells what Tywin's plan was here. It's unclear how he knows Tywin's plan, and it might be speculation, but what he tells Arya is he sends Sir Gregor out to burn these villages in order to draw Ned out of King's Landing, knowing Ned will serve justice himself. This doesn't make any sense, though, right? Because if Tywin knew Ned would go, then he knew Robert would be hunting, right? But if Tywin knew Robert would be hunting, Tywin would know Ned had a broken leg. So what Harwin tells Arya doesn't make any sense. According to Harwin, Tywin's plan here is draw Ned out, but that doesn't make sense because if Tywin knows,
who says this to Arya?
Harwin.
Who the hell is Harwin?
Harwin's just a Winterfell. He's the Master Force's son. He's Ned's door man. Right now.
They
He's
talk
the
about
guard,
this
basically.
in the next Arya chapter.
No, they talk about this in Storm of Swords. This is in Book 3 when Arya gets captured by the Brother Without Banners, and he's like, "What happened?" Basically, he says, Tywin sent out these men so that your father would come out and fight him, but he sent us instead." But that doesn't make sense because if Tywin knew that the king was gone and Ned would be the one to answer the call, he would also know about Ned's leg, right? If you get a letter that the king's gone hunting, you're also going to get a letter that Ned has a broken leg, and it was Jaime, right? Obviously, if it was involved with Jaime. So,
sorry.
That theory doesn't make much sense, but...
So, with what you said earlier about the Targaryens, it would almost make sense that they would have this town hall meeting with Ned thinking that he's going to go do something about it and start a scuffle. Like, all right, Robert probably won't do shit about this, but Ned, if he's sitting on the throne while Robert's hunting, let's bring in these people, say that all these people got killed by the Mountain, and have them send out a force to start ruffling some feathers.
Right, exactly. And you got to assume that if there are lords, like, assume Darry is pulling for Targaryens, like, what's his point of contact, right? Like, who is he getting any news about Targaryens from? It's got to be Varys, right? If Varys is the Targaryen guy, any lesser lords have to be going through Varys. So yeah, Varys hears, oh fuck, Robert's gone. I'm gonna send a letter to all these lords who I know support the Targaryens, and basically tell them to just come and start this war. Right? Varys can be like, I can start a war. And Varys maybe at the end here is just pissed that his plan worked perfectly. Just Ned didn't send the person he thought he would send. Maybe he thought he was gonna send Loras, so he thought he was gonna send Ellen Payne. Right?
Where's the place that John Con goes? I guess he just goes. Where is his
Roost. That's his own house. It's south of Storm's End.
Oh, okay, so it's still like on the east side.
Back at the end of the 5th book.
It's still on the east side, but he was a Target. They were Targaryen people too, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Darry supports them. Darry supports Jon Con and Aegon. Is the theory? Is that he wants them to invade now, so he wants a war to break out.
I gotcha.
Right, either them or Viserys, whichever one Varys is pulling for. He's basically in Varys' camp. Is the argument?
I gotcha. I mean, I believe it. I mean, I just want to, give actually. Usually, I just try and beat the shit out of Nelson's stupid theories, but. Why go so far in the Dunkin' Eggs to just show how much, black Targaryen support there was to not ever have anything with that mean anything in the main story? Exactly.
There's gonna be an uprising where people in the Seven Kingdoms, when the Targaryens do invade, whether it's Aegon or whether it's Daenerys, whether Aegon is a black, what could be awesome is say fucking Aegon comes into Westeros, right, and just conquers everything, just shuts it all down. I got the fucking Golden Company, I got fucking elephants, shut it all down, and now he's ruling, and then Dany comes in, and now it's a fucking Blackfyre rebellion flipped on its head. The Blackfyres have the rule, and it's a Targaryen rebellion. And then you got the black and red all again, but now the Blackfyres are the loyalists, right? And the red dragon are the rebels, right? That I could 100% see that the end game of this whole thing, whether White Walkers are first or after, right? We don't know if the White Walkers are going to be the final battle. If it goes by the show, they're not. There's going to be another battle. I could see Aegon coming in, conquering everything. Aegon works with Jon to fight the White Walkers. Then Dany shows up and fights them all, or something like that, right? I don't know. There's so many different ways they could go with it, but I definitely think Blackfyre is going to be a huge part of it. Whether it's direct Aegon Targaryen fight, or whether it's just which of the lords support the Targaryen cause when it does show up in Westeros.
So we have the War of the Four Kings right now. Is it 4 or 5?
Right now, there's no kings, right? Because
I'm saying when we do get into the main war of Book 2 and 3, I guess it's...
At first, it's Robb. At first, it's 4, right? Robb, Joffrey, Renly, Stannis. When Balon pops in, it becomes 5. Balon Greyjoy.
Yeah, Balon.
So, and then, if we say this is going to happen again, another rebellion, you're going to potentially have Dany, Aegon, fucking little
Stannis.
bitch,
But hold on.
little bitch Lannister.
I guess an argument against this chapter would be against everything I've said about these Targaryens. In that Arya chapter, when Varys is talking to Illyrio, who is urging to hurry up and who's urging to wait?
Varys is saying slow down, and Illyrio's... No.
Other way around.
Varys is telling Illyrio to hurry up because he's like, dude, I can't hold it.
No, Illyrio is saying slow
Illyrio's saying
down.
hold up because he's got to get time.
Illyrio's saying slow down. She's pregnant, right? She's pregnant and the cow won't stir until the baby's born, I think is Illyrio's argument. So basically Illyrio's saying, I need 9 months. This isn't 9 months later. So would Varys want a war now? Or is he saying, hey, this is too opportune a time to not start a war? Maybe we can't invade right now. We'll invade in a few months, but this is when I can start it. So I'm taking my shot. You know what I mean?
I mean, it takes a while to deplete forces in a war, so yeah, I would assume he would be okay with any type of war, really. And maybe he thinks, I don't think he knows that there's going to be 5 kings in the war, but he thinks, hey, if I can get Starks, Lannisters, and Tyrells all fighting, it'll work out.
So that was, according to my timeline, that Arya chapter where she's down there is like a week ago. It's like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but Daenerys, doesn't her timeline start way earlier than everyone else's?
Yeah,
Is she caught up in the timeline?
Dany's starting to catch up. So, the last Dany chapter we had, the next Dany chapter we have will be past where we are now. And the last Dany chapter we had in June. Again, these aren't actual months, right? But assuming Dany's chapter was in June, this one is in October.
Yeah,
Early
that's 5
June,
months.
Early October, about 5 months.
3 months.
But the next Dany chapter is this month, or is next month, so it's in November. So Dany will be at least 5 months pregnant at that point in our next Dany
Which is
chapter.
plenty of time for a war to get brewing, you know?
So if a war starts now, the baby will be born at about 5 months. So yeah, that's not a huge problem, but you still have the logistics of getting the Dothraki army across the sea, back from base Dothrak to the coast. So I see why Illyria is saying stall, and I guess my argument is, if this is a Targaryen, the argument that the theory makes, Preston Jacobs' video in his Riverrun, it's the first video in his Riverrun's playlist, and it's what I've been talking about here, that these lords are, this is fake news, and this is a ploy to get a war started so that it's easier for the Targaryens to invade. If that's true, Varys has to be the mastermind, but Illyrio 10 days before this chapter, told Illyrio, stall. So would Illyrio really send messages out and be like, hey, we got to start it now? I mean, I guess it's an executive decision. Hey, this is our chance. We're not going to have the same opportunity maybe in 2 months from now. So I could see it, but I don't know. That's what this theory, again, there's all the theories I point out, not all of them. I try and argue all of them. I always try and play on the, I guess, opposite of devil's advocate, whatever that would be, God's advocate side of these theories, just to show you the points of them. But I don't believe in all of them. This is one that I definitely don't believe in. I think Gregor's probably just being an ass. Because everything Ned thinks about all Tywin's moves from here is a good move.
I mean,
right?
come on, Gregor's too cocky to just go out there and bland armor. Like, he's going to wear his shit.
I don't know. Does
come
he even
on.
wear that fancy shit?
I don't know. With Tywin telling you, dude, I don't know. He could be fucking...
I think Tywin definitely told him to do it, because I think he would just go out. If it was on his own whim, he would just go out there and do it. He's not scared of anybody.
Well, exactly. But if Tywin told him to do it, he wouldn't be wearing armor, because Tywin would be smart enough to know, hey, fuckwad, go kill other people who don't wear any shit.
Right. I think Tywin definitely did it.
But like the thing is, if Tywin did it, I could see him being like, "Yo, if you do this, go out and wear Stark armor, like decoy status. Dress up not only as no one, but as someone else." But I guess there's no other like. Obviously, it's going to be them.
Well, so Jeff,
Like,
just
while the
to
Starks attack. Go ahead.
counteract what you're saying, the fight. Another discussion is, was it the Targaryens, and then that's where the lie comes in. Like, did they actually see the mountain, or was it just a guy who was kind of big?
Yeah, I mean, I guess at that point, did they just burn their own thing themselves?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you wouldn't even have to burn it. You wouldn't even have to burn it. I mean, maybe last second you would, but like, there's never an inclination in Ned's head to send somebody to check that everything they're saying is true. But there's never an inclination like, hey, send someone to actually make sure Wendish Town's actually burned. Like Ned's so honorable that he like when someone tells him something, he takes them for their word because that's how he is, right? He tells people how it is. He assumes it's what they're doing to him. That's not always the case. But I just don't think that a war right now is the best thing for the Targaryens. Whether you're thinking Viserys army, Dany army, or Aegon army, I don't think a war right now is the best thing. So that's why I don't think this is ideal.
I don't know, man. I think a war takes a long time in putting the pieces in place.
The only thing I could think of why Varys would do this is because Littlefinger is pushing things too fast. Right? Like, it's inevitable. You know what I mean? Like, Littlefinger showed Ned the brothel. Once Littlefinger does that, Varys has to know, okay, Littlefinger is going to make sure Ned finds out about this incest. Once Ned finds out about this incest, there's going to be a war. Let's start it. Maybe Varys is trying to even give Ned a leg up. Basically saying, like, hey, you're going to be the one that makes the first move. That way you don't get caught off guard when all this shit happens. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's a lot of shit going on, and I don't understand why all of it happens. But I think in this case, what makes the most sense is Gregor actually attacked, because that makes sense from a tactical standpoint for time.
And now the Targaryens are spinning it?
No, I don't think the
Now
Targaryens have anything to do with it, right? They might reap the benefits in the end game. The thing is, so here's the argument. I'm not doubting that a war helps the Targaryens. The argument is, does Varys need to do this? Say Varys did this and he called these three lords here and told them to do this to start a war. Does he need to do that to start a war? No. The fucking war is going to start anyway. Right? Littlefinger is going to make sure Ned finds out about the incest, and once Ned finds out about incest, there's a fucking war, no matter what. Right? So Varys doesn't need to call these lords here to start this war this way. It's going to start anyway. Which is why I don't think that the Targaryens were involved. While maybe, yes, it benefits them in the long run, I don't think they're necessarily involved here because it's not necessary. It's going to happen anyway. Like, what happens here isn't necessary. It honestly seems like they want vengeance on Gregor. But I don't know.
Chop it up.
Chop it up. We're good. We're going to call the episode here, guys. We haven't talked about any fan theories in a while. Remember when we talked about Summerhall? If anybody's got any theories, leave them for us. We'll talk about them. But until next time, have a good one, guys. Oh, one thing I do want to talk about. I don't know if I told you this, Glow. The next chapter is the Joffrey reveal.
Will Kyle pick up on it?
Who reveals it? Sansa reveals it?
Sansa reveals it. Her and Arya are talking to Ned, and Ned is about to send him back to Winterfell. And Sansa's like, I can't. I need to be with Joffrey. We're gonna have children in there. We're gonna have children with golden hair. Well, that'll be proud as lions. And Arya says, "Not if Joffrey's their father. They'll be stags." And Sansa says, "He's nothing like that wretched father of his." And she says like some stuff. And then Ned says, "Oh my God, out of the mouth of babes," and then sends them away. Because it's from the point of view of Sansa, you leave that room at that point. So that's really all you get is Sansa say that, and then Ned say out of the mouth of babes. So I don't know if Kyle's going to pick it up in this chapter, but it's the reveal. And then the start of literally like the first paragraph of the Ned chapter afterwards, he says, one day I'll have to tell Sansa how she figured it out for me or something like that.
Let's go, Kyle. Figure it out, bud. I'm rooting for you, Cal.
I don't know if he'll pick up on it.
Can you please not spoon feed him, Nels?
If he doesn't pick up on it, the thing is, even if he doesn't pick up on it, there's no way he doesn't get it when we go over it in the podcast.
That's fine, so don't tell him.
Like what? Just don't talk about that line at all?
We can talk about it, but don't.
If he doesn't
don't emphasize on it.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the biggest wha-bam that he's gonna get for. Like, he's not even gonna be surprised when Ned dies. He's gonna know Ned's dying.
How about this? I'll put that part, whatever that is, I'll put it in a quote, and then we'll read it, and afterwards I'll be like, "Do you have anything to say about that?" And then if he says no, we'll just be all right, and then we'll just talk about the next part.
You just gotta play it really cool.
Yeah, we can bring up different parts of the conversation. Alright, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. It really helps us out. But we'll see you on the next episode for Sansa 3, you guys.
Sansa 3. See you next time, guys.
Sansa 3. See ya.